Weddings is something close to my heart. I think being part of someone's forever is just so beautiful. Handwrite it in gold on all 500 invites. So that's 500 into 3. Cartier, LV, Valentino, Gucci, Jimmy Choo, every brand we work with today had me on site because if someone at the last moment cancelled and there was a new RSVP, the calligraphy had to be done of that person.
In a world chasing quick solutions and shortcuts, she built a legacy with intention, love, and lots of ink. She is the founder of the Bombay Lettering Company, wherein she changed the dynamics of how handwritten legacy and elegance can be made into a business. We have with us Sanjana Chatlani. I love the name Sanjana.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, honestly, that's the first catch, the Bombay Lettering Company.
Yeah, I think it's something that, just felt so right. And I think it rings a nice bell, that sense of nostalgia, Bombay. It's something that
What made you think of it?
It's a very funny story, actually. I had just about started learning calligraphy and I wanted to just make an Instagram account to just document my work. I had no plans of building a business around it, maybe a little tiny dream at the back of my mind. And I said, okay, let's just make an Instagram account. What should I call it?
Yeah.
So I said, okay, what's the one thing that is me? That I know it, and it's Bombay. It's where I grew up. I've been here my whole life. It's a big part of my identity, not Mumbai, Bombay. And I said, I want to weave in the word Bombay somehow. And I said, if I use the word calligraphy, it's a little too specific. I don't know if too many people would understand everything I want to talk about. Let's keep it a little more generic and use the word lettering.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, let's do Bombay Lettering. I said, wait, what if at some point I want to build a company?
Yeah.
Let's just throw in the word company also.
That's lovely.
And so that's just how it came out to be. And the few people I ran it by, they're like, yeah, this sounds great. Just go with it.
I always say Bombay is an emotion,
100%.
And Mumbai, for some reason, never hits, the way Bombay does.
You won't believe it, even in my emails today when we're talking to clients and I have to use cities.
You say, I live in Bombay.
I very much say Bombay and I only talk about Bombay as Bombay in emails because it is that emotion. It's everything we've sort of grown up with.
Yeah. So I believe from brands like Moet Hennessy and working and giving up that kind of an corporate job, hanging your boots and deciding to follow your passion, which I think probably started as a hobby if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
How's that been?
Okay, incredible. Best decision ever, I guess. But I loved my job. I started my professional career working at Moet Hennessy. So I was on the marketing and brand team.
Okay.
And I was learning the ropes of just, brand management, marketing for sure. I was quite sure I wanted to be in the luxury industry.
Yeah.
And I was really enjoying the wines and spirits industry as well. I happened to discover calligraphy while I was working there. We used to have a calligrapher come into our office.
Okay.
Because like every luxury brand, they need a calligrapher to handwrite on their stationery, on their cards, when they send anything out for any kind of gifting.
Yeah.
Whether it's influencer gifting, H&I gifting. And so there was this man used to come to the office and I would just watch him and I'd love art as a kid. I'd taken art in school, but I never in my wildest dreams thought I could do something with it. And then I just started doodling. I'd pick up a pen, I'd try writing names in fancy ways. And I just looked on Instagram and Instagram being a little bit of a rabbit hole, sucked me in, found some courses, tried to learn, went to the US, to California.
Oh, you did?
I had a family holiday coming up and I said, I'm going to club this in and I'm going to go learn from a calligrapher in California. That's when I actually saw the possibilities that calligraphy as an art form had in the world we live in today, from weddings to corporate to, just social occasions, and what we do is social calligraphy or formal calligraphy. And I was just blown away. And I think, that's when I came back and I started doing it on the side for fun. That's when I made the Instagram account. That's when I think my company began to use me as the calligrapher, and my boss would have to call me out to be like, can you come back to your actual work now? But it was amazing. I did it on the side for about a year.
Yeah.
Until I realized there was a point where I said, I think I have to pick one.
And do this full time.
And do it full time. And that's when there was a difficult decision, But I think in that moment, the momentum, I think even just coming out with calligraphy and trying to build something around it raised a lot of intrigue, because I think people just hadn't seen too much of it in India. And the style I was doing at the time, it's called pointed pen calligraphy. And the style pointed pen. And the style I do is copper plate calligraphy.
Yeah.
It's a very elegant, very whimsical, very beautiful script, which is used very well for weddings and events. And I think
what are the other forms?
There are a lot. So every language has, different styles and scripts. So within Latin, like English, and then there's pointed pen, which is a very small part, which is kind of much younger, I would say, than the broad edge world, because this came out post the 14th century, where calligraphers used to write with quills, and then the quills became steel nibs, and then the steel nibs is what we kind of even still use today. But I think there was this beauty around being able to dip your pen into a pot of ink and write in 2024 or 2020, whenever that year was, and in 2017, 2018. And something just happened to me where I found it therapeutic, I found it meditative. It was starting to change me a lot as a person.
Oh, really?
And there was that other side to it. So of course I was loving it. I was doing it on the side. But I also started noticing these changes in me and my behavior as a person, where I was calmer, I was focusing on my breathing, I was paying more attention to things. There was more just attention to detail. I think overall it just felt like, okay, this is something I want to explore and go with. And that's when I kind of took that decision to be like, you know what? I'm in love. I've fully fallen madly in love. I want to see where this world takes me. Okay, worst case scenario, if, in a few months it's not what I think it's going to be, I can always go back into the corporate world. But I have this thing, I want to see what I can do with it.
It's so interesting that our wedding industry is such an amalgamation of so many professionals who left corporate jobs or taken these tough calls of leaving something which was so mainstream and out there and they were doing so well, and followed a passion which probably is best suited for the wedding industry. And I think I can comfortably say in all the guests who have come here, there is always this little shift that I've seen that happened for them. Coincidentally, just yesterday I was with another guest and left a big corporate job in IT space and moved into photography, and so many others I know. So it's so beautiful, and I think that's the beauty of this nascent and growing and new industry, the wedding industry, where people have come with so much love and come with so much passion that it makes a big difference, I feel. And that's what has happened with your beautiful brand. I mean, in a short span, I think you started way back in 2018, and then after facing COVID, and to yet grow to where it is today. It's incredible. So firstly, congratulations for that one.
Thank you.
And now coming back to the skill, I know you started with calligraphy, but you've grown into a design studio and you're doing so much more work. So tell us a little bit of the journey that has been on the company front.
Yeah, so I think it's been just so organic. I think that's the word I like to use, because, from the day at Moet Hennessy when I picked up a pen, I never planned or thought. I kind of went with the flow and just wanted to go with what felt right. Almost just maneuvering and going with the tide, taking me in that direction. And I think that was the best thing, because I never blocked anything out. And I said, okay, if it feels right, let's just take it on. Similarly, that's kind of what happened with Bombay Lettering Company. We were primarily calligraphy and personalization. working in the wedding industry, of course, because we were working closely on wedding invitations, wedding stationery, but only adding in the perspective of that personalization. But what started happening was my own clients and my own brides would come to me saying, Sanjana, can you also design our cards? Or we love your aesthetic, can you please just handle the whole invitation? Or can you also print? You know, because I guess people wanted that one-stop solution. And in the moment, I was like, I've never even studied design. I've not gone to design school. I've not gone to art school. And I said, but you know what? Why not? I was in that zone of just say yes to everything and figure it out. And that's actually how we started designing wedding invitations. And, you know, that's when I began to hire the right people for the right roles. So, of course, our graphic designers, our illustrators. And I guess it's that care and love for your craft that then translates into just every aspect that we want to do. So whether it's, you know, hand illustrating, hand painting, hand everything is what we started doing.
So you created a niche within that space itself, which is beautiful,
Yeah, and today we're a design studio with weddings being a big vertical, but of course there's corporate, there's brand, there's social occasions and, you know, for all kinds of events and celebrations. But of course weddings is something close to my heart. I think being part of someone's forever is just so beautiful. At the time when I was just doing calligraphy, it was like, I'm getting to write vows for someone who's probably going to keep my writing for a long, long, long time. Like my mum had her wedding invites the other day. She took them out and my parents have been married 35 years. And she showed me her wedding invitation and I was like, wow, does that mean my invites are going to be with, you know, for generations to come? And just to know that you're playing that little role is so fulfilling also.
Absolutely.
And I guess what you said is so true about passion and love and people coming into this industry with that. Because I think you need that.
You know, weddings is a space where I feel it's one of those industries where it's transactional in many ways. Of course, we're running a business, but it's extremely important, you know, for that empathy factor to be high, compassion, and at the same time to be flexible. So it's not, I mean, it's very difficult from a corporate structure to come into this and, you know, change your ways. But I personally have also done that from a corporate space. I moved into this and I realized that the beauty is that we come with that best of professional practices and yet are able to do this. You know, do you feel like that?
It's so funny you say this because when I had started off as just a calligrapher, you know, a lot of times people would look at us and say, oh, but, you know, you're an artist. Artists have no sense of business. Or, you know, you won't be on time with your you won't meet any deadline, you know, and that's just the impression they have that artists are not good with business. But I think what really worked for me was my corporate background because I began my creative business with a sense of professionalism that a lot of calligraphers at the time in India were not doing. You know, even something as small as ensuring that my email address was sanjana@bombaylettering.com and not sanjana@bombaylettering@gmail.com. Like just when I started, you know, those really little things that show that level of professionalism. I feel because it was such not a very organized industry, at least for like calligraphy. And then slowly as we came into weddings as well, you know, I felt like that sense of professionalism, that sense of working with all kinds of people in the corporate world definitely helps. But that high level of just empathy and leading with empathy, working with people who care, working with passion, and like you said, having that, the best of both or the balance, I think is critical because you can't have it with just one of the two.
You know, I see this huge cultural difference within our industry also. Starting from north, going down, and how Bombay operates. You know, Bombay is so different that way. You know, whether it's a planner dealing with a client or an design company or an invite company, as compared to when it's in the north of India. You know, I'm sure you've experienced the same. Coming to the journey of how you begin an approach with your bride, groom, or the family. Just take us through that, like, you know, what's that point? How do you start? Do you like to interact and get their story? And how do you start with them?
So I think what we love is storytelling.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's something now we know. We love it. We want to go with that sort of direction with everything we do. Yeah. So in weddings especially, we do not have, it's not that cookie cut, sort of a format at all, because we don't have ready templates.
Yeah.
We don't keep ready designs for most of it. We like creating unique invitations for each couple in a way that I don't want someone to look at that invite to be like, oh my God, this is so Bombay lettering. I rather them look at the couple and say, this is so you.
Yeah.
Of course, with our touch and our magic woven into it. So we love spending time with the couple. We do that discovery call. We really take them through everything we do, our past work, the different routes and directions in which we can mood board for them. We understand what they like, but more importantly, understand what they don't like.
Yeah,
because I think that's so important. I mean, when we're working with the bride right now who's getting married in Raffles or Udaipur, and in that question of please tell me things you don't like, she's like, listen, I know the wedding's in Rajasthan, but I don't like peacocks. Like, I hate birds. Please make sure my invitation doesn't have any birds. I was like, thank you. So, just little things which really help. And after that, we really sit back as a team and create directions in which we could potentially go. So typically we, some of the most common ones are taking inspiration from the venue, if it's a destination wedding. So the venue, the structures, the place, whether it's a beach place or a palace. So, kind of imbibing that vibe into the invitation. Another would be from the decor of the functions. So you take inspiration and hand illustrate and create. But
that happens slightly at a later stage.
Yeah, so this is after we've spoken to them and after some people come with a very clear idea of what they want. And then we don't even have to mood board showing routes. But some people come being like very confused and they're like, just show us everything. Yeah. So this is where we show them the routes, like venue, decor, or your story. Yeah. So a lot of people come to us for that third route, which is somehow bringing out their story. And it doesn't have to be in, in the form of like caricatures or like, illustrations or at all. It could be their story in terms of design. It could be in terms of nostalgia, like, cities, countries, places, food, anything. I think that's what we love. So right now we're working with a couple who are in their 40s. They've been best friends for 20 years and they're getting married.
How lovely is that?
And they've both grown up in Bombay, met in Bombay, are obsessed with art decor. So the whole invitation, and they're like, we're not elegant, we're not delicate, we are bold, we are colorful, we are funny, we're OTT. So this invitation is unlike all our other invites because it's a pop of colors, it's art decor, it's playful, it's Bombay. It's not typically what you'd see for an invite.
What a refreshing brief, dude.
Exactly.
I mean, like, imagine, otherwise you're going subtle and you want to make it elegant.
And that's what people are like, oh, make it elegant at the goal. They're like, no, we want bold colors, vibrancy, we want playfulness. And that's what I love when we work with them.
And something like that, how would you incorporate calligraphy?
So what I love doing is I like to make sure that all the units, the titles, the couple's names, the hashtag, the logo, everywhere we can weave in the lettering, it's done in calligraphy by hand, because it's not a font. It's not something anyone can find online. It's actually hand scripted and designed like a logo for you. And that on its own elevates an invitation and adds that unique touch to it. But as we've evolved, I guess, as a design studio, I've also realized that at times, it's okay if my calligraphy is not part of a project if it doesn't fit the brief.
Correct. I get that.
And it's always about what works best and what is going with that vibe and that aesthetic.
Yeah, you don't want to
forcefully
put something which is not going with the
vibe. So most of the very elegant, whimsical, dreamy ones is where I love to add my calligraphy. We also love to start an invitation with a quote or words that the couple love. So we'll do that in calligraphy. So a lot of our designs are, I would say, calligraphy forward, and sometimes that kind of becomes the design itself, the type, the lettering, the words. And a lot of them, there's absolutely no sign of calligraphy.
That's good you said that, because I think a lot of people relate with the brand thinking it's only calligraphy that they need to come to you for.
Yeah.
But good you said that this whole progression into design is sometimes without that art form also.
Yeah, and I think that's, you know, if we're choosing to go in the direction of really focusing on weddings and wedding invitations and stationery, I want people to know that we are that design studio that can story tell and bring your vision to life in whatever form, you know, it may be. Yeah.
What do you think of this whole digital space? I know, I mean, it's something which is somewhere a need of the hour also, I feel. But I'm a big fan of print yet. You know, I'd love to get an invitation.
Yeah.
I know saving paper and so many angles to it, but there's something about getting an invite.
I think most of our clients who come to us know we love print, and that's our forte, and that's what we specialize in. I think the tactility of it, the paper, the printing processes, the attention to detail, the care, the experience of just opening an invitation is what we love. You know, and even though today, even when we're talking to our designers, I'm always like, please don't think of the invite as a 2D design on your screen. Think of every element. How is the box designed? What is going into it? Is there, you know, an envelope, a folder? What accessories are you using? How is it stacked together? Is there a fragrance? Is there a slight sound when you open the box? You know, how do we bring that all to life?
Yeah.
And I think that's what we love. AI is there, it's coming, but I feel like I'm not threatened by it. I don't think it can replace what we do.
Yeah.
I think it can aid us and assist us if we use it correctly and train it well. I'm sure it can just make processes more efficient for us.
Do you think it will take away jobs? I mean, that's been a conversation in our industry for the longest time.
Yeah.
Every forum, every conference we attend,
Yeah.
people tend to talk about how AI probably will come in the way. And, you know,
I think
I personally feel that, like you said, it can be an aid.
Yeah.
But I also feel that it probably will take certain jobs away.
I was about to say, I think certain jobs maybe, the more executionary rather than the thinking, ideating, conceptualizing. I feel you need to feed it with what you're thinking.
Yeah, I mean, it will just make teams leaner.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
because you
so.
Probably might not need
Exactly.
as many hands to work on.
Yeah, and I feel like even today at our office, one of our clients is building a very large AI platform and company, and they were like, just let us know, we'll come to your office and do a training with you guys. Because even today in the world of AI, there is so much out there. It is overwhelming. You don't know what the right tools are. But if you learn the right tools, so whether it's from a client servicing point of view, whether it's from the operations point of view, and whether for the designers, they have design specific AI tools to help them. You're just basically making your life a lot more efficient, doing maybe what you could do in 4 times what you can do for 4 people, 1 person does, in a way. But I'm not threatened by it in a way that it's going to take over what we do.
Is there any tools that already give you the calligraphy feel? And I'm sure they do.
Yeah, but you know,
you can see the difference.
You can. And even with fonts, that's a question I get asked so much that, you know, but if there are fonts today, like calligraphy fonts, why would someone pay that extra additional amount to get something hand done?
Yeah.
You know, like whether it's envelope addressing, because calligraphy is not a necessity, right? It's that added luxury on top of what you're doing. And I always say that it's not like the way a human mind is thinking. When I'm writing something, I know what's above, I know what's below, I know what's before, and I know what's coming ahead. So I'm creating my strokes with all that information in mind. I know what's coming ahead, so I can write a stroke in a certain way. And that human touch, that emotion that comes out on paper, I don't think can be done digitally just as yet. I don't know.
I'm sure. Something came to my mind which is, you know, very trivial, but we go internationally and you get this, you know, at the cafes you read handmade pasta. So we'll have things like handwritten calligraphy, not printed, not digital.
Oh my gosh, that's true.
Yeah, you know, I think there will be a premium for things like these.
100%. And I think we're seeing it already, right? Because with everything so standardized, so digital, and almost so AI generated, people are craving the hand-done stuff.
Yeah.
They're craving, and that's becoming a niche now.
Absolutely.
You know.
It will.
Yeah.
You know, how long does it take for a process? Because you see the Indian invitations are in huge numbers.
Yes.
So when you all do this manually,
yeah,
how long does it take, and how do you, I mean, how much are you involved in the process, and how much of it your team? I mean, just for us to get an idea.
So typically as wedding stationers and invitation designers, we like to say our entire designing process is about 8 to 12 weeks. Post that we go into print production, and after that we do all the personalization, calligraphy that's sort of required. In those first 8 to 12 weeks, it's everything from the discovery calls to the mood boarding. We go into like very detailed, specific mood boards. Then we go into the designing phase where we hand draw, hand illustrate everything. So we first show our clients sketches of everything, the look and feels, the mock-ups, all of it, until we go into final designing. And of course, then if that invitation is going into print, we go into the process of sampling, print production, papers, processes, all of that. That's something I personally love. And then I like to take 20 days for print, depending on how complex the job is. And then if it's like 800 invites, 1,000 invites, we like to keep about a week or 10 days for the calligraphy. So now there's me, but of course I have a team. So we have a calligrapher in-house, and we have freelance calligraphers who work for us. The thing is, people come to you saying, can I have 500 envelopes done by tomorrow? And I'm just like, no. You know, it's all done by hand. It's a slow process no matter what.
And it's tiring, I'm sure.
It's so tiring. I can't even begin to tell you. It's like working out. It's like going to the gym or running, you know, where you build stamina. It's a little bit like that. So back in the day, if I could write non-stop for maybe 20 minutes, today I can write non-stop for over like an hour or two, and I'm okay. But you have to take breaks. It's eventually something by hand.
Your wrist must
Your wrist. It's a funny story. After Priyanka Chopra and Nick Jonas's wedding, I wrote for 8 days straight, because we did everything in calligraphy for that wedding, and I was on site doing every place card.
When you say everything, as in the entire invite?
No, so I did all the, at that time I wasn't designing invitations, so I was the calligrapher, and we did all the menus for all the sit downs. We had to do a big part of them in calligraphy by hand. Every sit down had place cards, two-sided, so you had to write on both sides. And it was like a 5 or 6 day lead up. So it was a lot. And at that time, it was just me. And then being there for the 3 days writing as well. I think I had to go to a physiotherapist after that, because the pain kind of travels up here to your neck. So as an artist, as a calligrapher, you have to be mindful of how much you can realistically do. You know, you have to take your breaks, you have to exercise. And in the beginning, I used to kill myself and I'd be like, yeah, we'll get it done, whatever. Now I've realized that it doesn't make sense, you know, if someone, you do, so it's always either time or budget. Someone may have the budget but no time, and someone may have the time but not any budget. So it's both that should work for even your best work to come out, you know. So the calligraphy part's the last bit in an invitation, if we're doing it. If we're not, it's okay. But yeah, there are crazy times. We do a couple of thousand.
Because Indian weddings are so big. I mean, we talk about, I think you did something for the Ambanis also.
Yeah, we did a little bit. Again, those were accessories, handwritten notes, cards. We also had a bride once who came to us saying, I want every invitation to have the couple's name and the function name. She was, I want all of it hand done. I don't want you to gold foil it. I want you to handwrite it in gold on all 500 invites. So that's 500 into 3. You know, and I was like, okay.
I saw on your Instagram that you do it on glass also now.
Yeah. So what's been really fun is transitioning from ink on paper to the possibilities of like all different kinds of surfaces. So one thing that we do and has become really popular in India is engraving on glass. And that's something I started in 2018. I came back from the US. I got this tool. It's actually a dentist's drill. and calligraphers over there were using it to etch on glass.
Wow.
And no one was doing it over here. And I reached out to Nika at the time, my client, and I said, you know, in the US, all these calligraphers go to Macy's and Bloomingdale's and they're doing it live on perfume bottles, and we should do it in India. Nobody's doing it.
Yeah.
And they were like, no, what if you break the products? We can't do this. So it took a little bit of, you know, gaining that trust. And we started doing it for all the brands.
But it's great for gifting.
Exactly. And now it's become a trend at weddings.
Yeah.
So at a lot of weddings, you'll see a personalization booth.
Yeah.
There will be a calligrapher personalizing anything, engraving maybe on glass. If it's a beach wedding, you're like, you know, painting on beach hats. So that element is there and it's really fun. But it's really nice for just gifting in general.
I don't know if you remember, but very interestingly, for one of the weddings that we were doing, and I think our bride was your friend.
Yes,
you did the vows in a circle, and we had printed that as the Varmala dies. It looks so pretty.
I still want that photograph from your team.
The drone shot looks so pretty because you had written all the vows.
Yes, I remember that, and it was such a unique request. She's very creative.
Yeah, she is.
And when she came to me, she said, I have a wild idea. I said, tell me. She said, I want you to write our vows. I was like, yeah, sure. She's like, no, I want them blown up in a way that they're where we, you know, do the Varmala. And I was like, okay. And I had just shown her, she had come to my office and she saw a piece where I had written a calligraphy piece in a spiral.
In a spiral. It was beautiful.
And it was this much. And she said, can you do this like 30x this size? And I was like, why not? And we did it and we blew it up and they kind of stood in the center. Yeah. Stuff like that, you know.
It's beautiful because I feel this is where creativity and the storytelling, this is the right mix and the amalgamation that I thrive on. Like, I just love it, you know, because it's the bride's idea. She wants it, you've managed to do it, and it looks so pretty.
That's what excites us when we're working with a couple where the bride and groom have a story to tell. They want to bring something out. We worked with a, you know, bride and groom recently. It's a wedding. It's actually happening in September in Morocco.
Okay.
It's in Marrakesh, and the bride is American, Pakistani. The groom's American. They were like, we want this OTT box. We want everything Morocco, Marrakesh. We want all the colors of Morocco. Just go all out. We've actually made a box that looks like a Moroccan lantern with the lattice work. There's a window inside. We've taken inspiration from Moroccan tiles, Moroccan like lattice work in the mosques, Moroccan flora, fauna. And it's so, you know, just true to what their vision was. And another one in the US where the bride's American, the groom's Indian, and the bride said, I love your Indian block print motifs. Do something with it to make it edgy and cool. And we've created the most funky invites.
How lovely.
Blue and white, but core of it is Indian block prints, you know. I think that's what drives all of us as well, to come out with that creativity, to push ourselves, to go the extra mile in creating invitations. And then trying to see how that design can even translate a little bit into the decor, for example, at a wedding.
Yeah, I think it somewhere it should link in. And, you know, very often as a planner, when I meet clients, I always tell them, think through this process. You know, in fact, we are doing this whole series also where we're trying to tell people how to go about the stages of a wedding planning. Because sometimes it's so much in bits and pieces that to then stitch it in is so difficult. You know, I mean, if they're choosing, say they've made up their mind, they want to come to you for design. I think they have to also at that point, you know, think of the designer who's going to design the spaces, because then it goes hand in hand.
You know, and that's what I hope we can do more of, where as the stationers, we work closely with the design and decor team. So there's some, you know, storytelling, that's some element that's weaving through everything, that synergy is maintained, the design language, whatever it may be. And then sure, maybe, you know, one of the functions, it might be the wedding day. And this is what a couple of our brides have done, where they do take inspiration or tie in the designs from the invitation also. You know, even a lot of times we insist that we want to do their communication from the save the date. The very first bit of communication that goes out, all the way till forget the stationery of the day off, but the thank you notes that some of them send out after the wedding. You want that design language to sort of continue in that one tone and one voice. So, you know, some people come to you being like, I've done a save the date. It looks like someone else's wedding card. Now I need to do the invite. Then the girl side is different, the boy side is different.
I totally get what you're saying, because for me also, I mean, given an opportunity and a chance, as a planner, I always try to do one call with the entire design team. So whether it's the invitation and the stationery designing team and the designer, I like to do this one call so it sinks in. You know, it doesn't look like two different weddings altogether.
Exactly. And there's so much we can do.
And then suddenly you'll see the catering company has decided to do their own prints of menus.
We actually insist on this. And I was just going to say, there's so much you can do with food and bar signs and menus, you know, and that's a whole other world. And that's, again, like we were talking about, moving away from paper, because that's all these different surfaces and materials you can work with, which is what we're loving. And so now we insist that all your bar signs, your food menus, please like keep us in the loop of things, so that it's all just...
so end to end it looks
great.
Exactly. No, makes so much sense, you know, and I hope people... more and more people realize, more and more brides realize that this is pretty much the need, and let the professionals do their work. You know, because that's another thing that, you know, too many cooks spoil the broth, and that's exactly what happens in every second wedding. We realize that, you know.
For sure. I mean, I don't know how you, like, kudos to you guys when you'll handle it. And you're not just working with one person, you're working with 20 emotions, 20 different personalities.
I always say that the any other job that I can ever take up, if it's not planning, is to become a therapist.
Right? I see it in glimpses and I'm like, I can't even imagine what the planners go through. But that's what you said, the passion, the emotion, the empathy. You know, I think that's what weaves in. And I guess it's fun when you're working with a bride or a couple where there aren't too many decision makers. I wouldn't say know what they want, because sometimes not everybody does, but are at least okay to trust you. And, you know that, okay, if we are not sure, we're going to sort of let them sort of take charge.
I agree. Sanjana, personalization, in my opinion and what I've seen, I also deal a lot with the luxury segment, and I realize personalization is luxury. And I know you've done some great work for celebrities as well as the ultra HNIs in the country. And I'm sure the angle of calligraphy being personalized has played a role. How do you see this journey, and what do you see as being the biggest calling that you feel with them has worked for you?
So, you know, I think, as you said correctly, personalization is luxury. Whether it's a luxury brand, you know, whether it's Cartier, LV, Valentino, Gucci, Jimmy Choo, every brand we work with today will not send out a gift without it being done in calligraphy. So our office literally has all their has a lot of our clients' stationery with us. So as and when they need to send things out, you know, it goes out. So that's from the luxury brand perspective. When it's with celebrities, like, you know, when we did Priyanka Nick's wedding, all the calligraphy, all the personalization was hand done in calligraphy, to the level where they had me on site, because if someone at the last moment cancelled and there was a new RSVP, the calligraphy had to be done of that person. You know, or even Deepika, for example.
You did something for a brand, I believe.
So we do the calligraphy for 82 Degrees East.
Lovely.
And I taught her calligraphy when she was pregnant, which was a really nice, you know, thing she wanted to do when she was home. And she wanted to spend and take that time to sort of learn that craft. But I feel the one thing, you know, it's for them, it has to go in calligraphy when they're sending something out. There's no other way. And I also feel like when you're working and interacting with, whether it's an HNI, because of course, you know, we work with a lot of families, a lot of celebrities. I think it's also just treating them like any other client in a way that you're not starstruck, you're not acting a particular way. I feel like a lot of the celebrities we work with, you know, we have that professionalism, we deal with them like a normal person.
And I think that comes with time.
They appreciate that, they value that, and you build that rapport, you build that relationship, which I think is great. But it's nice to see, them. A lot of times I won't have a celebrity's manager or assistant calling me. It's them directly DMing me on Instagram from their account, or WhatsApping or calling to be like, oh, I want to get this done, I need to get some calligraphy, some stationery, some personalization.
But for me, honestly, calligraphy is luxury, clearly.
Yeah, for sure.
Lastly, I'd like to understand, as a brand,
as
the Bombay Lettering Company, what's next? And please tell us, how do you see the growth journey forward, and what's anything new coming up that you'd like to share with us?
So it's been really exciting, moving from a calligraphy studio into a design studio with different verticals. I think the biggest even shift for me, going into this world, was having that duality now of saying I'm not just an artist but I'm also a business owner.
Sure.
And kind of juggling those two hats constantly, because you have to keep getting better at running a business and being a business owner, being a better manager, being a better founder in different ways. But also, if your business is based on a skill, you're constantly having to upskill. You're constantly having to get better at your craft, do what, And I think just juggling those two has been a very interesting and beautiful journey for me, knowing that I got to keep leveling up in both areas. We're at a point today where we are scaling up, we are growing, but very intentionally. We have the studio, which is what I'd like to remain boutique. This is where we work with weddings, with companies, with corporates, with brands. It's work we love and pour our hearts and souls into. And then we have the store. So that is brand Bombay Lettering.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. And so we're very, very sort of excited about that side of it.
Okay.
We do personal gift, like personalized stationery. We do hand engraved gifts. We just launched, well, not just, but we launched 2025 planners. So stationery and diaries.
Where's the store?
It's all online.
Oh, online.
So we retail online, and for our planners, we were at Crossword and a few other places across the country. But that's a whole other world that we're so excited, because that's our baby and that's our brand. So that's something we're sort of building and growing.
Yeah.
And then there's the side where I teach, and I love teaching. So I teach calligraphy, and that's something that's very fulfilling.
Wow.
But I think just as a design studio in the wedding industry, we're excited. I think there's a lot coming in India and outside. I know you love working with a lot of weddings outside India as well. And I think, it's also tapping into just different markets, different audiences.
Are you seeing a lot of requirement of the international wedding ecosystem getting sourced out of India? I mean, do you get a lot of international planners working?
I am. I've been attending a couple of these, conferences outside India, with the hope, of course, of building those connections. Because I think looking outside India for invitations and stationery is something I've been wanting to do.
I think it's also cost-wise, they find it really...
Yes. But the thing is, they are coming to India very well knowing that they have to get it at a cost that's cheaper than getting it over there.
Yeah.
So that just because someone's coming to you from, say, Europe or the US, you can't just price whatever you want to. We've had times where people come to us expecting very low rates also. That's the other side of it. But most of the side, the time we've been working with planners now from all over the world who love it. I think the way we work in India, our turnaround times, the efficiency, our production quality is actually really good. I used to feel that the kind of paper you get abroad is just something but today, I think with print and production and what's available and happening in India, it's amazing. And we are giving it to them at a better price and quicker. So it's a win-win.
One last important thing I'd like to discuss with you, which is a very sensitive space in our industry, is the copyright. And how does one really protect your design? I mean, and how does one make sure that there's no plagiarism and that's being,
Sadly put, you can't.
Can't do anything.
You can't. In the beginning.
Have you ever had thoughts of how does one tackle this?
So in the beginning, we used to fret a lot. Anything I'd put up on Instagram would be copied by a lot of people, whether it was our invitations, our design, our stationery sets, or even my calligraphy pieces. But I slowly started detaching from it and just sort of letting it not bother me at all. because I always would just tell myself one thing, that someone copying you is always many steps behind. By the time they even try to reach where you are, you're 20 steps ahead. So I try to never look at it as a threat but it hurts, I guess.
It does.
I think with us, like as a stationery company, we try and have our terms put down as
contractually
as much as possible. We try and control as much as possible.
Yeah.
So for example, we do not let our clients handle print at their end.
Yeah.
As from talking from a design studio's perspective, where if we're designing your invitations, we cannot give you open files under any, it's not a cost thing. We just don't. So if you want to print, we print for you, because we have those contracts with our vendors who cannot use our files for anything else. So it's two things, one is I don't want someone else using our files because God knows what's going to happen with them. Second, I can't control the quality.
Yeah.
So if they want to cheap out and use a very average, printing paper quality, anything, and it still says designed by the Bombay Lettering Company, I don't want that. So we control that very, very sort of strongly and heavily. We don't put out too much on Instagram. So a lot of people come to me and say, but we barely see your wedding work on Instagram. And that's why the question I always get asked is, you do wedding invitations? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, yes, we do. Mm-hmm. But I think that's also a slightly conscious decision where we share a lot of what we do in person in our meetings with our clients, rather than putting out too much on social media.
Makes sense. Totally makes sense. We unfortunately can't put a lot of our work.
And half of it is NDAs.
This is the
half of it
thing,
is this is the most beautiful invite, but I can't share it.
Yeah.
And you can't do anything with it also. Yeah. But I think it's just something we've just, I guess even for you all, right? It is what it is, and you go with it.
Yeah,
you try your level best.
I always feel, for us, it's more like management.
Yeah.
I always feel as a creative person, there's the fact that your creativity is being, kind of
I used to
stolen is not a great feeling.
It's not. Yeah. And I used to be scared to call out a person before if they've copied something of ours. But now with, we have a nice Instagram community, we have a good following. Yeah. I don't care.
Yeah.
I will put it out, I will put a story, and I will talk about how this is just not okay. And, because I just think it's not fair, and people shouldn't get away with it.
Yeah.
I used to try very nicely. I would reach out to the person. I would say, what you've done is not nice. I don't think they give a shit. And I'd be like, I'd request you to take it off, because and people don't care. But now it's like, okay, fine. If we see something, call it out. And that's just that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
More power to you, Sanjana.
Thank you.
I mean, it's brilliant to see how well, so quickly your brand has grown to where it is today.
Thank you.
And we're not done. We have this amazing fun segment which we call the Pink Frame moment.
Okay.
Rapid fire questions for you that you probably have to give me answers in just one word.
One word. Oops.
Oh, rather, sorry. You just have to pick two options. No right answer, just whatever you feel is right. Just tell us.
Yeah.
So, decked edge or a gold foil?
Gold foil.
Glass engraving or a wow booklet?
Writing in a wow booklet.
A perfect copper plate or a perfect client brief? This you need both.
You really do.
Write your dream celebrity wedding or launch a book of your script?
My own book.
Are you in the process of doing that?
Hopefully. Maybe.
Sunday with a sketchbook or binging on a drama or
Oh. Well, I used to be the every day, every hour with a sketchbook, and now I'm finally getting into the breaks and binge watching TV shows.
Paris for a paper fair or Kyoto for calligraphy inspiration?
Sanjana, the business owner, will go to Paris for the paper fair. Sanjana, the calligrapher, will go to Kyoto to do calligraphy.
Good one. A beach getaway with zero network or a quiet cabin with just your tools?
I think the quiet cabin with my tools.
That's it, and it's a wrap. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
More power to you.
And to
more
you
power
too.
To your,
it's amazing, I think, how you've, with work and the madness of it all, you're doing this incredible podcast. I love watching the episodes. I think even just for the wedding industry, it's so refreshing, so nice to have someone.
I just try to see, and I hope that with every episode, there's a takeaway for someone or the other, and thankfully we are getting that kind of feedback, and it motivates us to do more and more. So, thank you so much.
Amazing.
Thank you for your time. We've concluded yet another episode, and if you've liked this, please give us a thumbs up and make sure to subscribe, like, share this video with people who need it.